Yeah, disappointing loss here Saturday at the Rock. A lot of credit goes to James Madison. We played poorly because they played well. So 2-2, center 2-2. A lot of football in front of us. All of our goals are still here. So we've turned the page to the Citadel, and we have a great week of practice.
All right, we'll start off with Alvaro Torres. Please go ahead if you want to mute.
Hi, Shawn. Thank you for your time. Well, you scored 40 of your 63 points against UNC on the fourth quarter and all of your 28 points against James Madison on the second quarter. Have you talked to your players about being more consistent throughout the entire game, or is that something you are not worried about?
We have talked about with our team. We have to improve on that, and that's our offensive staff, and we have a lot of things to improve on. We're sitting here 2-2, and could easily be 4-0 or 0-4. So we're sitting here 2-2, and we have to score more points. We can't have the turnovers we had this past weekend, but I feel confident in our players, everybody involved in the organization.
Thank you for your time, Coach.
We'll head over to Noah. Noah, please go ahead.
What did JMU do differently in the second half defensively to kind of, keep control of your offense after, 28 points in the second quarter?
No, they have a very good defense. They have a very good scheme, and they kicked our butts. It came down to our one-on-one battles. We didn't execute. Anytime you give up 4 sacks and we give up 2 turnovers as an offensive unit, you're not going to win many football games. We're very fortunate our defense created 2 turnovers. We scored 14 points off that, but it came out. We didn't play well enough to win. And these kind of games now in the Sun Belt, every team is good. There's no easy games in the Sun Belt, and it's going to get tougher from here. But give credit to James Madison for executing their game plan.
We'll go to Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You've said several times that that this league was very good and got a lot better. Was this past weekend an example? The league went 4-0 against outside competition, and the teams right behind you in the standings are teams that beat Notre Dame and Nebraska.
Yeah, this is a tough conference from top to bottom, and you bring those 4 teams in. And when I got here in 2016, I believe, there were games you would go out, you knew you were going to win the football game, and that's not the case anymore. It's every week is a whole new set of challenges you have, and they're really good football programs with really good football coaches in it, and it's going to be tough all year. To me, it's going to be hard to watch a team win 10 games in the Sun Belt nowadays, because every week it's the biggest game of the year. So very proud of our conference of how they realigned and got things going, but we have to do better as a whole team.
What does your team need to do this week in order? Are there like a couple of points that a couple of like scheme things that you'd like to see them, take care of this week and improve a lot consistency? A
lot of things. I'm saying, one is take care of the football. You can't win many football games at all if you turn the football over. And then, on defense, our point of emphasis was winning third down last week. They were 4 of 12 on third down. I'm sorry, they were 2 of 14 on third down. And then we have to, and now in today's age of college football, they're going to go for it on fourth down. So we were 3 or 6 stopping them on fourth down, but we've gotten to play clean football. Don't turn the football over. Keep things in manageable distances and play well in the kicking game.
Appreciate it, Coach.
We'll go to JB Ricks. JB.
Morning, Coach Clark. Appreciate you taking out the time. What kind of wake-up call do you think that second half proved for your team when it comes to the competition you guys are going to be facing week in and week out, and what type of opponent will the Citadel present for you this Sunday or Saturday? I'm sorry.
Can you repeat the first part, please?
What kind of a wake-up call do you feel like your players were able to get out of that second half performance against James Madison, and how you'll be able to apply that this week in practice?
I'm not sure if it's a wake-up call. Just, we talked to our team all the time about finishing, and maybe at one point in the game it was 28-3, and we had all the momentum, and we didn't finish the football game. And we have to be able, when you have a team down, to keep your foot on the gas and keep scoring points and stopping your opponent. So I'm not sure it's a wake-up call. So we talk about here all the time. And then with the Citadel, it's the biggest game we have. I mean, we need to go out and play clean football to have a chance to win. We watched their tape all week long, and they have a quality football team. And what we can't do is we can't let one loss turn to two. So that's been our point of emphasis since yesterday morning.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, JB, and thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have for you today. Do
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I was real pleased with the way our team handled being on the road for the first time. Obviously, with a young team, you don't know how they're going to respond. We've been at home 3 straight games, and I thought we went out there and took it as a business trip and came out. Our whole goal was to start fast. We hadn't been playing well until the fourth quarter, and thought we came out special teams wise right out the gate, and obviously offensively and defensively, first time all year that we've really, I think, played well together, especially in the first half. So pleased with the victory. It's hard to win on the road, and thought some young guys played well in their first time in some adverse situations on the road. So we got a team coming in that's playing with a lot of confidence, playing really well in all 3 phases. That has improved tremendously. Coach Helton's done a fantastic job with their team there and the way they're playing. We got our work cut out for us if we're going to find a way to be 2-0.
Thank you, Coach. First questions come from David Teal. David, please go ahead.
Jamey, you were there at Coastal when they made the transition from FCS to FBS. You know how challenging it is. Are you surprised that a program such as James Madison has been able to start as quickly as it has?
No, not at all. You don't have the success sustained that they had at that FCS level and win national championships and be in the top 4 in the country year after year without having a great program and things in place to be successful for that long. And obviously they've got great tradition, great support, great coaching. And then also when you make the transition now, you've got unlimited signing in the portal. Right. So it goes both ways. Obviously, I know they lost some people to other places that hurt them. But also I'm sure they gained some guys that have helped. So I think I'm not surprised at all with the success that they've had. When you have a culture like they do, a culture of expecting to win, that just not going to change because you move up a level. It's fun to watch them and just see how they play and how they're just, going about their business. They've done a fantastic job.
What are the most challenging aspects of that transition?
Well, for us, when we went there, I came in 17. So that was our second year of the transition. We went from 63 scholarships to 85, but people don't realize after 16, you lost 20 something seniors. So, you're down to 43 scholarships and you can only sign 25. So you're at 68. So you're 15 short. And it took us 4 years to try to get to where we were at 85, not have 85 scholarships, but to be able to use them all that were actually FBS top players. And you had to build from high school. You couldn't get an immediate help. You had to build it. And so I think to me was the toughest challenge about that. Not necessarily getting skill kids, but just trying to develop your O-line and D-line where you got to win in the trenches. And then when you're not winning and you don't have crowd support and fan support, a lot of good players don't want to come. So you had to try to take some chances on kids that were overlooked and maybe didn't quite have the statue or the measurables that FBS people wanted is what we had to do. And it took us a while to build that. But it's helped us get to where we're at now, no doubt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Avera, please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Chadwell. Thank you for your time. You have the 5th best turnover margin in the nation. How can you manage to stay consistent in that area?
Well, our defense is doing a fantastic job with that. Last year we couldn't get a turnover defensively. I think we had like 6 the whole year long. This year we're getting them. We're doing a great job of that. And so it's something obviously we're emphasizing and something that our players take pride in. Where we can help is offensively. We've got to not turn it over. We first game of the year, we didn't turn it over. And then the next 3, we turned it over 7 times. If we wouldn't have turned it over at all, we'd be fantastic. So offensively, we've got to do a better job of holding on to it. So we're not just trying to keep serve with our defense, the ones they're getting.
Thank you. We'll go over to Shane. Shane, please go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I think there's at least 7 quarterbacks around the Sun Belt that rank highly nationally in one statistical category or another. So I wanted to ask coaches who have coached the position, just their overall impression of the depth and the quality of that position in this league.
It has been impressive. I think that's the type of offenses and schemes that, the coaches have put out in this league. They know how to put their quarterback in situations to be successful. I think too, when you have guys that have experience, majority of the players that you're talking about have experience and know what to do, know where to go with the ball. And I think that's a big reason why. I think that, it's about moving the chains and score points. Sometimes it's not the prettiest, taking the check down or taking the second read or third read, whatever it may be, but that's what helps you be successful. And I think what we've noticed as you're studying is people know how not to put themselves in bad situations. And when you do that, good things can happen. And that's what the quarterbacks, I think, are doing in this league right now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got time for one more from Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. I wanted to ask you
Morning.
about Jared Brown. He made such a big impact for you early. Has he been everything that you had hoped he'd be?
He has, we recruited him, thought he could end up being a good player. And earlier this year he's played, but had a couple drops in Army and his confidence was wavering a little bit being a new player. And then just trying to get him to come along. Got sick halftime of Gardner Webb, so missed the second half of Gardner Webb and was sick into the Buffalo game there. And so just slowly coming along, but he's finally getting back where he's healthy and getting confident what he's doing and what he did the other day showed. And so he's a guy that with the injuries that we've had, he's a guy that we need to get the football to. So we've worked hard to try to do that.
Does he bring you an element that you may not have enough of?
Oh, we definitely don't have enough of, if you've watched this at all. And he definitely does. He's got a gear that most people don't have, and he's really dynamic, can make some people miss. And so, if we're going to be successful going forward, he's got to be able to get the football to do that.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good road win. Really proud of our guys coming back from a 25-point deficit. That's not easy to do on the road or at home, regardless of who you're playing, particularly a team like Appalachia State. I thought we showed great resolve and played really good defense as the game went on. It created some good field position for the offense and really took us about 2.5 quarters to get settled in offensively. In this game, made a lot of really just uncharacteristic mistakes and didn't play very well. But our guys showed great poise and found a way.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll start with Noah.
Hey, good morning, Coach. When you look back at the film from Saturday, what jumps out to you about the defense you may have not noticed, right after the game, from that second half where they were able to shut App State's offense down?
Yeah. Well, we flew around the whole day and played physical. But Appalachia State made some great plays, particularly in the passing game in the first half. Very impressive plays. I mean, they got players, they got talent. But, the last 6 drives of the game, we held them 40 yards defensively and created field position for the offense at the end of the first half, which we didn't capitalize on. And then again, in the fourth quarter, which we did score a touchdown. So I thought we played great. Offensively, we rebounded eventually. And, Toddy got settled in and made plays with his feet and his arm. You take away those minus yards at the end of the game where we took a knee and where he ran to almost take a safety. He rushed for over 100, threw for over 200. And we had, they were going to take Chris Thornton out of the game, but we had other wideouts step up and make plays and really liked the way Kalon ran and Latrell. I thought our line, once they settled in, but way too many mistakes on offense. Our defense was tremendous as we got going.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Wayne. Wayne, please go ahead.
Coach, good morning. What's the messaging from you to the group, as you begin this week of practice that sort of use Saturday as to kind of propel you forward, for more success in the Sun Belt moving forward?
Yeah, well, with us, it's kind of like trust the process and be focused and commit to your preparation. Have a great week of preparation, which starts today, a great day of preparation today. be where your feet are, and all eyes on Texas State, who's a very capable football team. Their defense is good. They don't give up many points. I really like their quarterback. They got weapons at wide receiver. Backs are good. The line functions well. They're a good football team. So, we got to put a great plan together, be prepared for a big challenge on Saturday. Looking forward to playing at home, in front of a sold out crowd.
And you guys, got some votes in the polls yesterday as well. Is that something, in this first year of transition, you could have envisioned? And what does that mean to kind of get, sort of that national respect, this early in the year?
Well, respect is earned, and it has to be earned every single week. So it's got to be earned this Saturday coming up. It's always nice to receive accolades, but at the end of the day, it doesn't affect kind of what we have to do to be successful. So it's kind of like noise and clutter, for lack of a better term, rat poison. and we got to stay focused on the important things.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Alvaro. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Cignetti. Thank you for your time. Well, did you ever expect to be undefeated while fielding a top 10 scoring offense in the nation after your first 3 games in the FBS? And what has surprised you the most about your team?
Well, we have a great culture here. We have great tradition. There are standards and expectations. And when we bring new guys into the program, they do a good job of assimilating because we have good leadership. And, I said early in the year that, our kids go out every week and expect to win and be successful. So am I surprised? I'm not surprised. Statistically, that's nice. I don't really pay attention to that quite as much because, it can change week to week. But we're doing things we have to do to win football games right now.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. We'll go to Maddie. Maddie, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well. So at this point in the season, what has surprised you the most about this team, and why is that?
I'm really not surprised by anything about our team right now. We're developing players. We're playing hard. We're doing the things you have to do to win football games. I think Toddy's come a long way in our system since the spring because, he's got to push a lot more buttons than the other places he's been in the past. And it took him a little while to kind of get a feel and a grasp for the offense. And, I think that, we're playing complementary football. We're doing a good job as a team. Now, I wasn't real pleased Saturday that we put the defense in bad field position twice in the first half. That's something we have not done. That's the first 2 times we had turned the ball over. So, we rose up to the occasion, but I was confident going in that we could and would.
Thank you, Maddie. We'll go to Christopher. Christopher, please go ahead. Christopher, you want to mute? All right, Wayne, I see your hand went back up.
Yes, thank you. I had a quick follow-up. I want to ask about, Sam Clark. What have been your biggest impressions of him as he's been in the program, kind of following in the footsteps of Harry, bringing in another Australian punter?
Yeah, really liked him when we brought him in, average about 44, 45 a punt at Sac State. And he was our special teams player of the week. Kicks the ball with a really good hang time, which was critical in this game because they had a very good punt returner. And, I think he's doing a great job. We have a lot of confidence in him. And I think he'll continue to do really, really well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I thought overall it was a good team win this past weekend. I thought our kids responded from the Baylor game in a pretty good manner. I thought like the first half was very good offensively. We had probably over 350 yards of offense in the first half, and our defense played phenomenal the entire game, and got our first shutout in my time here, and our first shutout since 2014. But you look at kind of just the pros and cons of everything. I thought, our kids responded. I thought we played around, like we flew around pretty well and made some plays, like some explosive plays. And, it was fun to watch, but I thought the consistency of the offense in the second half was pretty poor. We didn't come out with the same edge and the same demeanor of what we had in the first half, but We tried to play a lot of different bodies. This is the first time in my time here at Texas State where we got to actually sub a lot of players in the game and get some valuable playing experience. But there is a standard and expectation that you got to play to the level of just of the current players, the starters, and you've got to be able to put the same product out there on the field regardless of the circumstances. And I thought, there's a lot of things that we need to improve on from that standpoint, but it was a good win for us. It was a relaxing win for the first time. Normally every single time we play, it goes down to 1 or 2 possessions, and it goes down to the end of the game. It's absolutely insane, but it was a good feeling just to be able to put some other guys in the game and get some valuable developmental work with those guys. And, came out of the game very, relatively healthy as well. So going in this week in the conference play, our first conference game versus James Madison, who is obviously playing at an extremely high level. And, it's going to be a tough challenge for us. We're looking forward to it. It's a sold out crowd and, a team that's getting a lot of, national recognition and some votes for the top 25. So, we have to play efficient football. I think Coach Cignetti does an unbelievable job in terms of just playing clean, complementary football. And that's something that we've got to build off of here in terms of consistency and make sure that, we can elevate our play in times of adversity and play complementary football. So looking for the challenge and ready to get conference play kicked off. So questions?
Noah, please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. What jumps out to you when you look at Jamey's defense on film?
Man, everything jumps out. Actually, I think they're a very solid defense. I think that they're very active. They're very tough to block. They don't stay on blocks very long. So, we're going to have to try to sustain and fight as best as we can. I was comparing them to Baylor's defense. I think they're very active. I think, obviously they're the number 3 defense in the country. And they've played 2 quality opponents, and got after them pretty well. So, when you see them, I think they're very multiple. They're very aggressive. They're probably 50-60% blitz. They're going to play man. They're going to play cover 3. They're going to keep you on your toes, but they play hard. They play sound, and they don't stay on blocks very long. So it's going to be a very tough challenge for our offense.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Alvaro. Alvaro, please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Spavital. Thank you for your time. How important was it to bounce back with such a dominant performance after your loss at Baylor and going into conference play?
Yeah, no, it was very important for us. It's just the response kind of factor of it. We talked about Baylor last week, and I didn't think we executed in critical moments. I thought our kids fought, and I thought they believed that they belonged on the field, but overall, when we made very critical mistakes on critical moments, like on 3rd and 4th downs, and especially in the red zone, or just after a turnover, not being able to be complimentary. So we focused on that all week, and I thought the defense was very, very good in this game in terms of getting the ball back, and we responded in terms of playing complementary football. So when they got a turnover, we scored points. When they got a 3 and out, we scored points. And that actually made us kind of sustain our lead and kind of separate from them for a little bit. So I was just happy that, we played complementary football, but, when you get into the second half, there was a lot of issues that we need to address, and the consistency's got to increase, but overall, just happy for those kids to respond after the Baylor loss.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Shane. Shane, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I was asking some of the coaches around the league who have played the position about the overall quality of the quarterbacks around the Sun Belt. I think there's at least 7 that are ranked highly in one statistical category or another nationally. So just what's your overall impression of just how deep this league is at that position?
Yeah, I think that's why this conference is so good. I've been fortunate to coach a lot of good NFL quarterbacks, and that typically means you're a part of a good team. And you just look at Grayson McCall and just kind of really all of them. Like I'm saying, the quarterback play at James Madison, the quarterback play at App State. That was a fun game to watch last week. I'm a big quarterback fan. And I just see how these teams are just playing at such a high level. And I think a lot of it has to do to their quarterbacks. You look at Georgia State, they're probably the best 0-4 team in the entire country. And I think their quarterback plays at a high level. And, it's just, I feel that for good, successful programs, your quarterback play has to be consistent and efficient. And I think this is one of the best leagues out there with quarterback play.
And how's Lane Hatcher kind of doing in his transition into your system and getting used to the environment there?
He's been great. Lane's played a lot of football, and that's something that's, very pleasing for me because, I don't have to go through kind of the rookie kind of mistakes or just kind of the, just the butterflies of the game. And just, this kid's seen everything thrown at him. He knows what to expect. He studies the game the way it should be studied. And he's been adapting great. And, he's kind of given us a spark offensively. He knows what he's doing. He can get through his progressions, get down to his check downs. And that's something that we haven't had here at Texas State. Normally it's like if you get to your first and second read, that's about all we could get through. And now he's getting through his check downs, and it's making us a lot more efficient overall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got time for one more from Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You talked about Lane having another solid game for you, but how gratifying was it to see your two running backs go for, I think, about 150 combined?
Yeah, no, it was good. That was one of the things that we wanted to get going this week. For the first 3 games this season, we were kind of rotating a lot of different running backs. We were rotating 4 backs, and we wanted to get into a rhythm, get Calvin Hill and Lincoln Perry into a rhythm, just to get them the touches needed and to get them playing at a higher level. I still think you're going to play those other 2 running backs, but it was very important for us to get those guys in a rhythm and get comfortable with, sustaining longer drives and staying in the majority of the time.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, very proud of our football team for a good win against, we felt, a really quality opponent in Ball State. It's great to be at home, back at home after 2 weeks of being on the road. Thought our fans were absolutely electric, and Paulson was just a weapon that was used in that game, especially in the fourth quarter. Proud of the way our kids finished that game in all 3 phases to create that separation in the fourth and go 1-0 on the week. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll start with Alvaro Torres with Inzoners. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Helton. Thank you for your time. Well, what has you pleased and what disappointed you the most to see from your team out of these non-conference games?
Right now we're sitting 3-1 after the month of September, and have learned a lot of lessons. We have a big win at Nebraska, and then came back and didn't play to our standard of execution against UAB. I've really liked how our kids responded after their first loss of the season. I thought their approach when they walked in the building on Sunday of just being a mad, angry football team that had a chip on its shoulder and carried that all the way through the week was a great lesson to be learned. It also showed you that if you don't play the level of opponents that we're playing, 9 of the 12 teams we play this year were bowl teams last year, that you have to be at your best and you have to play your standard, or you're not going to come out with a win. So we've learned a lot of lessons non-conference wise, and now we walk into conference playing a really good Coastal Carolina team.
Thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you. We'll transition over to Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Congratulations. Was that almost like a little bit of a coming out party for Kyle Van Trees? And did he show you, like at the end of the ball game, what you were looking for from that position?
Well, he's really executed really well, in 3 of the 4 ball games. I know UAB, there were some throws that he would want back, but I don't know how much better he could play in Lincoln, Nebraska, and winning that game. I thought in his opening ball game in a new system versus Morgan State, putting 59 points on the board and really executing at an extremely high level was very good. And then this last week, man, just veteran leadership all over, the decision-making, the timing, the accuracy that he distributed the ball with, I thought was excellent. So, he's grown within this system. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in our league right now playing, and we expect it from him. That's the reason he came here, to be a part of a system where he could really shine, and he's doing that. And so proud for him. And as he excels, we excel as a team.
Have you talked to whoever the schedule maker is as far as the gauntlet you have for the next 3 weeks? You've got an unbeaten Coastal team. You've got the best 0-4 team in the country, both on the road. And then you've got JMU, and we saw what they did last week.
Well, we knew coming into, when you're talking about, the Sun Belt Conference, it's the premier group of five conference that's out there. We believe that. And, you know, you look at the quality of play of all our teams across the board in wins and losses, they are competing at an extremely high level. And, you know, so it doesn't matter what week it is. You're just fighting like hell to go 1-0 that week and do the things that are needed to come out with a victory in a very, very tough league.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Mhm.
Our victory Saturday over ULL was a very important win for our program for several reasons. Obviously, and I'm new to ULL a little bit, it's a rival game for our people, our town, our city, our university, our alumni, former players. We don't play La Tech, so it's our rivalry game. And so no matter where I've ever been, whether it be at Auburn, Florida State, West Virginia, Pitt, where I grew up, the rivalry game is very important to your people. I didn't have to go to church and listen very long to the people around me to know how, you know, I don't care if you lose every other game as long as you win that one. Surely that's not true, as all y'all know, but you hear that stuff. So for that reason, but more importantly, this is a defending Sun Belt champion. This is a team that beat us the year before I got here, 70-20. This is a team that is in our division, and it's a team that's in our state. And so for all those reasons, it was a W that's bigger than other W's for those points alone. It only counts 1 week. It only counts 1 game. But as far as those things, it was very significant for us as we develop our program into a contender for the conference. I'm not saying we're a contender yet, but we're moving in the right direction. That was a very significant win for us. The one thing I got out of above all the mistakes that you have to correct and the great things we did, we got behind 17-7 most of the game, and we came back and scored 14 in the fourth quarter and won the game. So when you find out your guys won't quit, that they will fight to the last play, that they'll never give up, and there weren't a lot of ways that you would find to win, nor the ways in which we made plays were not the ways you would have picked. And you would have not guessed those were the ways. An 89-yard reception down to the 1, a muffed punt that we got down there for a score, those kind of things that happen. So again, great win for us. We have enjoyed it. Coaches have been going crazy getting back for our next game. Players will get back in the swing of it tomorrow. And so Arkansas State, it's next one in order. They're the biggest game of the season because they're the next one. And they too are in our division. They're a critical game. And they beat us last year, and we've got to find a way to get ready for this one.
All right, we'll start off with Alvaro Torres. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Bowden. Thank you for your time. How much of an effect did the fumble recovery have on the outcome of the game? And what were the adjustments made to have such an effective fourth quarter?
Well, we had a fumble recovery. We had several fumbles. We had 2 fumbles. I guess one was a muff punt. Are you talking about that, or the fumble that happened earlier? That I don't know if we got anything out of the. Remember, they fumbled in the back. They fumbled going in one time, and we recovered that one. But the biggest fumble was really a muffed punt. The snapper snapped it over his head, or it wasn't caught, and we recovered the muffed punt. If that was huge, because that gave us 1 score that got us back to 17-14. So that was a huge play. We were 17-7, and we had just had a good drive coming out of the second half, drove it all the way down inside their 30, and we fumbled going in. So that critically hurt us. So we made a ton of mistakes in that game, enough to lose, especially the first half. They came back and made just as many. I don't think one team made more mistakes than the other, but we both made enough. We just played a little bit better than them toward the end and won the game. So I don't know that I could point towards one fumble, but I know that we had an interception that went. We had an interception. We had a fumble. We had mistakes on our part as well. And so those were all big factors. In a game that close, those are always factors. Turnovers and big plays.
Well, you had lost the last 4 games before this Saturday. How important was to win this rivalry game at home?
We lost our last 4 games to ULL. I know that I wasn't here those 4 years, but it's hard to have a rivalry when one team wins. When one team wins every week, it's usually not much of a rivalry. You got to have, and this rivalry now, this is the 57th game. We've won 26, they've won 31. So it is a pretty good rivalry. But because they had won 4 times in a row, we got to get that thing swung back around. And so, so that's important to have for good rivalry. If you're going to have a good rivalry, the only way it's going to maintain its rivalry is that both teams have to be able to win the game. So I've been here 2 years. We won 1. So we're 50-50 as far as I'm concerned. And it'll be a battle every year. When we play ULL, it'll be a battle every year. When I was at Akron, I was 50-50 against Lafayette. And so I've coached against Lafayette a few times. They're a very good program, an outstanding program. And until the season's over, they're the defending conference champions. And that's exactly what they are. They're the defending champions.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Right over to Mitchell Gladstone. Please go ahead.
Hey, Terry. I don't know if you had a relationship at all with Jeff Purinton. I know he was with your dad at Florida State. I guess, and you were off on your career. I guess my question, he's talked a lot about, things he's learned from being around your dad and being on the golf course. I know you were around. I mean, obviously, what was your first memory of, being around your dad in a football sense? And, obviously, I'm sure he's taught you a million lessons. Can you point to a couple of the biggest things that, you took from your dad as a football coach?
Now, you got to remember, if you look back at my career, everything I've gotten was pretty much from my father. In other words, I want to be a football coach since I was about 12 years old. My dad was a college football head coach since I was born. So every day that I played or listened or watched, and I've been sitting around the table, my brother Tommy and my brother Jeff and we sat around and asked questions of a football coach, and I became a graduate assistant. And I was his self-scout. I studied his play. He was a really good play caller back in the 80s, so I studied his self-scout for him back before computers were around, and I learned how to call his plays. And so for my first 15 years as head coach, I copied everything. So I think the football part, it was huge. My brother Tommy, my brother Jeff, and I always exchanged ideas. We had a quarterback receiver camp that was very, very popular for about 2 decades, where Peyton Manning, all the guys went through it back in the day. And we always exchanged ideas. Jimbo Fisher and Rodriguez worked for $100 a day back in that camp. How much money they make now. But no, my dad's his influence, the biggest influence he's had on me is now that I'm 66 and I'm gray haired and I'm not even a fatherly guy. I'm a grandfather looking guy. He taught me how to be a man, how to be a leader, how to put football in perspective, how to try to change young men's lives on the inside more so than on the outside. And after seeing his eulogy and seeing what all those great many players said about him, not much was said about the blocking and tackling. It was said about the impact you have on a young man's life. And I think all of us coaches in our conference, the longer we're in this, the more we're grateful that we have a bunch of guys kneel in front of us every day with an opportunity to influence them. And the great thing is, whether you're in the Sun Belt or in the SEC, we all get the same number of guys to influence. Nobody has an advantage over anybody else. And so that my dad just taught me, I think mostly that we have a much higher mission than just teaching how to win football games.
You talked about, you guys coming and winning late and, being winning a game. I guess, Arkansas State's been in a similar period where they've had a couple down years. Obviously, it's been more at ULM, but I guess my question is how valuable, going into a game and just winning, regardless of what it takes, how valuable is that to the players in terms of the process, and how much can you learn from just, no matter what it takes, coming out on the right side?
Nothing can teach players more than an actually winning a game. Winning, learning how to win, getting through a tough game and winning, or winning at the end. You can explain it, you can describe it, you can convince them that it's going to happen. But until they play hard every snap and make it happen, I'm not sure you get total buy-in. We had some success last year in making the transition, but it was I think there's a lot of buy-in when you get a game like that. as we've all seen, it goes for about 7 days because people are losing every week after they have a big win. That seems to be the status of everybody having to deal with it. But I think that's important. I have told our coaches, this is my 27th year as a head coach, and most of these jobs have been turning around. The most important thing we can do every week is our 2-minute offense, 2-minute defense, 4-minute offense, 4-minute defense, because if we're going to win and turn our program around, it's going to be a close game, and it's going to come down to the last 2 minutes offense or 2 minutes defense, or quite often a 4-minute offense, or getting the other team off the field, a 4-minute defense. So I think our players responded well to that. We were able to almost get them off the field our last drive. We got a first down and barely missed getting a second one that would have ended the game defensively, but we were able to make them run the timeouts, get rid of their timeouts. So they had 95 yards to go with no timeouts for the final 2-minute drive. So it's awful. You have to experience that. And the players do. And hopefully we got a little more learning experience there. And before we get players equal to everybody else or better, hopefully one day, we got to win a lot of close ball games.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate y'all joining us. Thanks for y'all's coverage. Good win for us last week versus Marshall, quality team who, obviously a couple weeks ago had beaten Notre Dame on the road. So they were very talented. When I watched them on film, I was extremely impressed with their athletic skill and ability. We played really solid defense. An offense was averaging 500 yards a game. I think we held them to like 170 and 174 is their total output on offense, and they were averaging over 500 a game. And then our offense, I thought we moved the ball really well. We just didn't finish drives. We had 421 yards of offense versus a defense that was averaging 260 a game given up. But we squandered 2 really critical red zone opportunities early in the game that I think could have helped us create even more momentum to win the game more convincingly. And we've got to learn how to finish some drives and do some things well. But we had some explosive plays on offense. I mean, we had a 44-yard run by DK Billingsley. We had three pass plays that went for over 50 yards. So just got to punch the ball in the end zone when we get those chances. But thought our guys responded well to, heartbreak the week before. And they really overcame the letdown from the previous week and didn't let that control their emotions. They came in with the mentality of let's go win a game. And now we've got to move on from that last one. Nobody cares that we beat Marshall. Now we got to get ready to play a really good Western Kentucky team who's ridiculously explosive on offense and has been putting up crazy numbers offensively for the last 2 seasons. So got a formidable task this week and look forward to getting back to work with our guys.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with Luke Creasy. Luke, please go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned some of those big plays on the offensive side of the ball. What were you seeing from the Marshall defense that kind of opened things up for you on the backside of that secondary?
Yeah, they play the game. Part of what makes them really good defensively is how aggressive and attacking they are. They dictated the game to Notre Dame when they played Notre Dame by how they play defense. They challenge a lot of throws. They contest a lot of plays. They don't really give you much room to execute some things. But they also, I think when you do that, you can maybe create some open opportunities down the field because they are very aggressive in nature. And so we were able to get some shots down the field. And it opened some of that stuff up for us. They also, like I said, they have the ability to at times not give you anything. And they've done that against people this year. So it was great to see us execute to get some explosives versus that style of attack defensively.
Thank you, Luke. We'll go to Alvaro Torres. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Sumrall. Thank you for your time. Well, what are your thoughts on TJ Jackson and the season he's having after Saturday's dominant performance?
Yeah, TJ has really grown a lot in my time since getting here, full time in January. He week 1 against Ole Miss made a couple of nice plays. Didn't play with great technique that game, and he's really improved his technique week in, week out. Was thrust into maybe a bigger role last week because Antonio Showers was out, and he's twitchy, explosive, loose in the hips. I think is a disruptor on our defensive line, and has been really active. So excited to see his productivity and look forward to seeing him continue to grow. But he's been a big factor so far for us the last couple of weeks.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Got time for one more from Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Dan, you're on mute.
Morning, Coach. Was there anything specifically that you were able to do defensively and so forth? You held them to about 2 yards a carry for the game. Anything that you were able to really take advantage of with your guys?
Yeah.
And you had Carlton Marshall playing back. So it's like,
yeah, it helps having number 2 back in the jersey on the field, not on the sideline, stand next to me. But yeah, they offensively they had been very explosive. They were averaging like 500 something yards a game, and we held them to 174, and they were rushing for 260 a game, I believe. They were 6th in the country rushing coming into the game with 260 yards a game. We held them to 96 net yards on 48 carries, which says a lot about our guys' response. And you know, I don't think we played particularly really good run defense early in week 1. I think we've improved. I think we've settled in. You know, we're new as a staff. I think we've settled in on making sure we're making calls that our guys are confident in and they can execute. If you know yourself really well, then it allows you to understand what your opponent's trying to attack you with. And I thought our guys swarmed to the ball. They tackled much better. We didn't tackle very good the previous week. We tackled the football carrier a lot better. And so thought that was a big improvement. And I thought our guys controlled the line of scrimmage defensively on the D line. So that helped us.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time.
Thanks. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah. So, you know, we're trying to get back in that win column, you know, kind of feel like you let one get away a little bit and self-destructed a little bit there in the fourth quarter. And, you know, for us, it's this team's got to learn to win together. You go through it and you go through this process and you practice and you do all these things. And, you know, when you get to game time, you got to go make the plays it takes to win in the end. And you can't be worried about trying not to lose it. You know, you got to go play to go win it, and you got to execute in critical situations. And we haven't done that the last couple of weeks, and you end up on the wrong end of it, you know. And it's college football, man. Everybody's got scholarships. Everybody gets coached. You know, you got to go out there and you got to go play well, and you certainly have to play well in critical situations. So, you know, just things that we've got to clean up and got to keep moving forward on and find a way to close some games out and, you know, and do it a little bit better this week for sure.
Thank you, Coach. First questions come from Alvaro Torres. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Desormeaux. Thank you for your time. Well, Billy Napier did a fantastic job during his time at Louisiana. How much of what he did have you upheld since you arrived?
You know, I mean, we're still very similar to what we did, you know, the last 4 years. And I was fortunate enough to get to be a part of it. And I believe in it, and we believe in it as a staff and as a team. And, you know, I certainly don't think you can get consumed with the results you have and hit the panic button and try to change things. You know, I know it works, and we've seen it work, and we got to get better at the way that we do it, and we've got to get better at our processes. But I mean, everything, the way that we practice, the format of it, even offensively and defensively, you know, schemes are very similar to what we did. Certainly you call it a little bit different with new play callers, but no, I mean, the foundation that was set here and that Coach Napier set the last 4 years, it works. I've seen it firsthand, and I know. And right now, you know, certainly we're in a little bit of a rough patch, but the process leads to results you want in the end. And for us, you got to believe in it. And certainly it's not the start that we wanted. Sitting here 2-2 with, I mean, I think the toughest part of our schedule ahead of us. But you got to keep working your processes, and you got to keep believing in the things that you know work. And you know, we got a great group of kids, and they believe in what we're doing, and we'll climb out the hole a little bit, and we'll end up putting something together that we're really proud of as this thing goes on.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll head over to Dan. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You
Morning.
mentioned how good the schedule, and you got some tough ones coming up. Have you had a chance to look much at South Alabama, and what are they doing well? They're obviously doing several things very well.
they're doing everything pretty well. I think they're very good on defense. I've always felt like their personnel at South Alabama has been really good. Truthfully, last year they were a team that had to learn how to win. And they lost a lot of games that they should have. I mean, one of them, including ours last year. So the talent, I feel like, was there. They had a new staff trying to get it figured out. And this year they figured it out. The UCLA game, if that game goes a little differently in the end, they're sitting here at 4-0. So they've got a really good football team. They've got a great front. They're physical at linebacker, D-line. Corners are very good. They contest everything. They make you earn it all. And then their safeties fit the run. Offensively, they've got really good scheme. They've got really good receivers, added some good backs. So they're going to run the ball effectively, and they're going to commit to the run, and they're going to set up their throw game off of it. And they do a good job. I mean, they're well coached. They've got a good team. They've got very good personnel, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. So they've got a lot of good things going right now, and it's certainly going to be a heck of a challenge for us having them come over here. You keep getting better and better teams on the schedule, and we got to continue to work, continue to play a little better.
You talked about better teams and so forth. This league obviously got a lot of exposure a couple of weeks ago, but they also went 4-0 this past weekend. Is this league maybe even tougher than a lot of people thought going in?
I mean, I don't know what a lot of people thought. I know what I thought. We've seen it firsthand, and we talked about it. The success we've had in the last 2 years, it hadn't been easy. It was 14 one-possession games in the last 2 years, and most of those were in conference. So I knew what this league was. I think that going forward, I think it's just so difficult and so challenging every week that you've got to be on your A game every week. And, you see it, certainly I haven't seen the tape, but, you've got App State doing what they did. And then, they go and they get beat by James Madison. I mean, James Madison's a good team. I saw him last year. I don't think it's a fluke. Troy goes to Marshall, or Marshall goes to Troy, and Troy beats them there after they beat Notre Dame, which was not a fluke. I mean, it's good football. It's a good league. It's really well coached teams. It's really good football players. And, week to week, you better show up, and you better show up, and you better play well, and you better finish games out, or you'll end up on the wrong end of it. So every week you certainly got to be at your best, and it's got to be a 1-0 mindset every week, or you'll get knocked off. And I think it shows up all over the league every week.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, a huge win, for our program and what we're trying to build here this past week, beating an undefeated Tulane team on the road at their place. A team with phenomenal defense. They'd only given up 20 points all year long and had not given up a play of over 30 yards. We played phenomenal in the kicking game, had a blocked punt and a blocked field goal, really flipped field position all night long in our favor. We played outstanding on defense after the first 3 drives. And in the second half, we kind of grew up a little bit offensively. We scored 17 points offensively. Like I said, last week, they held Kansas State to only 10 points. And so we're growing up and getting better offensively with a true freshman quarterback. Thought he really took some strides. We were able to win the turnover battle 1-0, which was huge. It was just a big, big win for us on the road versus a really, really good football team that's really well coached.
Hey, Coach, our first questions come from David Eckert. David, please go ahead.
Hey, Will, how you doing today?
Good, David.
Just wanted to check in with you, see if you had an update on Swayze and Ty. I know they both got banged up Saturday.
Not yet. They're both getting checked out today. I should be able to give y'all something on Tuesday.
All right, thank you, David. We'll go to Alvaro Torres. Alvaro, please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Hall. Thank you for your time. Well, what are your thoughts on your team's resilience and personality after rolling from a 14-0 deficit and getting this important win against Tulane?
Yeah, so we're excited, about getting that big win on the road. We've talked about the transition of being a program, going from that point of where, we're losing close to winning close. And that was a great football team we played now. An undefeated team with a great defense and a great quarterback, and probably the best coach in that school's history, in Willie Fritz. So it was just a huge win for our program on the road in a rivalry game. We're really excited about it. There's a lot of things we know we've got to do better. We're growing and learning offensively. We're not a complete product there yet. We've got a freshman quarterback that gets better. He really made some good plays in the second half. And we've got to take this week as an off week to continue to improve and get better as we get into Sun Belt Conference play.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Joseph Doring. Joseph, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. You guys took on Tulane this past week. Like you said, your defense was great. Quarterback Zach had a great game as well. And with the exception of the Appalachian State game, Troy has had a very good pass defense. I just want to know what your thoughts are and what your game plan is for Zach coming into this week, going on the road to Troy, and how you expect him to deal with that really good pass defense that they got over there.
Well, we've got an off week this week, and then we got Troy. So we've got a week where we're just going to focus on ourselves right now and try to improve with us and get better with us. We'll obviously look ahead to Troy later on in the week. We know they've got a phenomenal defense. They had a lot of players returning from a really good defense last year. Coach Sumrall is a defensive guy and has come in, and wants to establish that culture and mentality. So we know it'll be a tremendous challenge for us. It'll be a great atmosphere. And it'll be Sun Belt football, man. It'll be a lot of hitting, and it'll be really good. But this week we're going to focus on us and try to improve on what we can control.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you, Joseph. We'll go to Garrett Busby.
Hey, Coach. Like you said, it was a big win this past weekend against your rival Tulane. Has Zach cemented himself as the starting QB for the Golden Eagles?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We'll go over to Heath Hinton. Heath?
Hey, Coach. It seemed like that game kind of changed maybe in the second quarter, 8 minutes. Did you make any adjustments there even at half, or was it just keep the same game plan, keep doing what you were doing at that point?
Yeah, we did, Heath. We actually just got simpler. They're a really good defense. They're really talented. We know we got some good players on the perimeter with our receivers. And we just wanted to simplify the game down for Zach. We kind of just went to day one install, man, with some of our RPOs and run schemes. And he was really throwing the ball well and accurately all night. And, Brownlee made some plays. Caston made some plays. Frog made some plays. Frank made some plays in the passing game. And they were really, really taking the run away. And so we were able to open that up. We were able to free Brownlee up a few times by getting him empty and lining him up at number 2, which freed him up for a touchdown. And those our adjustments were kind of just to get simpler and make sure we can get it to our guys.
All right, thank you, Heath. David, saw your hand go back up. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I guess just following up on that question there on Zach. I mean, what did you see this weekend that made you make that call?
Well, he went on the road and beat a team that you could argue statistically was the best defensive football team in the country. Kansas State scored over 40 versus Oklahoma and Missouri, and they only scored 10 versus this team. And we scored 17 offensively, 24 total. He had no turnovers. He had a really high completion percentage. His eyes were right all night. He had a big 3rd and 10 drop that could have been a big gain. So it was could have been an even better performance. He had some things he'd like to have back and do better. But man, I just thought he played, really, really well versus an awesome defense that plays extremely hard and is really well coached on the road.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Sure. Good afternoon. Coming off a difficult loss to Coastal Carolina, our first conference loss, our opening conference contest, a lot of areas that you can look to and pinpoint that we need improving on. We open up the game and on our kickoff right there, we kick it really almost right down the middle and have a pretty big return with about a 49-yard return, and then the opening play for them goes for a touchdown with about 51 yards. A little wheel route out of the backfield, had a new linebacker in there, and we kind of got behind the 8 ball there very quickly, down 14-0. Fought back a little bit, had our opportunities to cut the lead and did so in some instances, but then turning the ball over in the second half kind of just did us in. And certainly, turnovers can happen, and we've got to eliminate those things and put the ball in the end zone. It's a new week with another really good football team in Army. and we travel on the road to take care of them or have an opportunity to go up there and play against those guys. A difficult contest, as anyone that's ever faced a tough Army team knows. You got to be prepared. You got to be physical, tough, and smart. So we've got to go and prepare like that this week. And really, we've got to kind of get over these things, to start off the way we did, and be sitting here 0-4 is not a very good feeling, but we can't let that feeling kind of hamper us in our preparation, our movement going forward towards this Army bunch. Really good, well-coached football team that we've got to be very well prepared for. We've got to do a much better job in all phases of our football game and in our coaching.
Hey, Coach, our first questions come from Brady. Brady, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Brady.
First, I wanted to ask about, obviously, last game you started some new guys on the offensive line and linebacker due to necessity. And I guess I'm just asking, how do you manage those type of situations differently where, obviously a guy like Blake is a big loss and you might not have guys who can step in immediately and just replicate them. There's going to be stuff that doesn't go right with the lack of game experience. So how do you manage those situations?
Yes, it's very difficult. I mean, we lost 3 offensive tackles in the span of a week. And, I made a reference, I believe it was yesterday. I said, you line down and run a 40-yard dash with a sprained ankle, you're not going to run quite as fast. And, that was the way both offensively and defensively. We just we weren't full strength. We, played the guys we thought could go in there and play and give us an opportunity to compete and be successful and get that win. And, when the bullet started flying there, in some instances, it got a little bit too big for some out there playing. It's you just got to work and continue, to build these guys up and better prepare them to go out and play. Maybe simplify things a little bit for those guys to make sure that they don't have a lot of thinking on their plate. But to each individual position is much different, based upon the backup. And just like I said, when you lose your third offensive tackle, you're kind of getting down to the very end of the line. But we're going to prepare and we're going to coach these guys up and we're going to make sure we're a better, more improved football team in all of those positions. And certainly, there's got to be people that have to step up. I don't think those turnovers caused by Coastal Carolina there in the second half had anything to do with the lack of experience at our offensive tackle position. It was some poor throws and poor decisions, and just took a toll on us.
And on the other side of the injury front, obviously Aubrey hasn't been able to play yet this year, but it kind of hasn't been a factor because you've had a guy like Chris Bird step up and kind of fill that role pretty well. What can you say about the play that Chris is in?
Yeah, Chris has really played well for us. And to be quite honest with you, Amon Green probably played as well as he ever had last Saturday. And he had an opportunity to step up and, play in that role as well at the tight end position. We sure do miss Aubrey. I mean, Aubrey's a really good football player, really good tight end, but, hasn't been able to step on the field for us and give us any production. Chris Bird has done a really marvelous job. I mean, he plays with great intensity and great passion. He's I think before last game, he scored 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games. So he's given us a little spark in there. Very proud of him. He's come a long way, and he will only continue to improve. And hopefully we're going to have an opportunity to get Aubrey back at some point. It doesn't look like it will be this week, of course, but those 2 guys are stepping up.
Brady will go to Alvaro Torres with the End Zoners. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Elliott. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
Well, you have played a really tough schedule up to this point and have been competitive in every game despite being 0-4. How hard is it to make your players understand that they have been doing the things well despite the outcome of the games?
Yeah, that's something you got to talk about. I mean, we are sitting here 0-4, and I think any team in the country that's hasn't won and basically been playing 8 weeks, our non-conference or our camp schedule and then 4 weeks of football. That's a tough thing to do. But we've had some really good games where I think we played really well in all 3 phases. We haven't played well in all 3 phases of any one particular game. The South Carolina game, you can take a lot out of, an SEC football team, the ACC football team, and the University of North Carolina, and they play Charlotte out of the USA, and then go on with a really good Coastal Carolina bunch. You got to stay positive. I mean, I walked in there today and I said, the last thing I'm going to do is come in here and have a pity party and let our emotions get the best of us and ruin what can still be a really good year for us here at Georgia State. So I told them I wasn't going to hang my head. I'm going to be positive. We're going to go out there. We're going to practice. We're going to practice hard. We're going to have to improve on some things, but we still have the opportunity to go out and do some really good things this year. And we've got some really good football players. And I think you will experience and you'll see that coming in the future. It's for whatever reason, it hasn't happened up until this point. But we have not, we haven't just packed it in. We've got a strong-minded football team, an experienced group of older individuals, so we should be okay.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Sure. Well, was proud of our players. I thought they competed for 60 minutes. They showed some resolve. They showed some resiliency. We're putting ourselves in opportunities to win football games, but we're making too many mistakes at critical junctures of the game. And it's a program learning how to win. But when you go on the road, you're responsible for creating your own momentum. Can't turn the football over. We turn the football over. You have to manage critical downs. We weren't able to do that with our third down conversions. And then defensively, I thought we played well enough to win, but you got to start the second half much faster. We gave up 2 consecutive explosive plays on the game. One of the critical plays comes down to a fourth down conversion that was decided by a penalty. So, it's all about critical plays at critical stages of the game, but we are improving. We're showing the results in terms of the locker room and our competitive character, but it's not showing on the scoreboard, and we know we're judged by the end result. But the thing we can do is just keep continuing to grow as a football team and a football program, and we see that progress occurring each and every day.
Coach, our first questions come from Luke Matheson. Please go ahead, Luke.
Hey, Butch. A couple of questions, 2-part questions. One, you've had a lot of injuries, and I know you're hoping to get some of those guys back. Any updates there, and your early thoughts on ULM?
Yes. A lot of these individuals are day to day, and, it's a great learning experience. We've talked to our players about you're 1 play away or 2 snaps away, and, we make that trip to ODU, and we don't have our best player on defense and Kevon Bennett. We're down 2 of our starting receivers, or down with our starting right tackle. And that's football, next individual in. But that kind of shows you your depth. You have to continue to recruit and develop, but it's new opportunities for new individuals. And no matter who plays, the standard never changes the way we're going to play in the standard of performance. But all these individuals will practice today. We'll see exactly where they're at. Obviously, the only one who won't practice is Robert Holmes. We've lost him for the year. So in terms of ULM, they challenge you. They're a very good football team, very well coached. Schematically, they challenge you in all 3 phases. They have belief. Obviously, that was a great win for them. And so it's going to take everything that we have, and it starts with our preparation. It'll be good to be back home after 3 consecutive road games. So I know we're looking forward to getting back to Centennial Bank Stadium.
Thank you. Our next questions come from Alvaro Torres with Inzoners. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Shawn. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Well, the offense has been putting a lot of yards and points. What would you say this team is missing in order to finish the job?
Well, I think, first of all, it's explosive plays. When you look at the 2 critical stats to winning and losing, it's explosive plays and it's turnover margin. And we lost both those battles Saturday night. And I have a lot of respect for ODU and the way they play defense. And we knew that every yard would be contested. We knew that every yard would count. And so, they force you to execute. And we did a good job. And then we had that rough patch of about 7 minutes where we turned the football over twice, and you can't do that against a good football team like them. But I think it comes down to, again, is the explosive plays and then taking care of the football. And we've been able to do that all year, but we knew we'd be challenged going into that game, and obviously credit to them in their style of play.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Go to Mitchell Gladstone.
Hey, Butch. I guess the question is, you've talked about, learning how to win, and, you guys have been in these close games in 2 consecutive weeks. At what point does it become, okay, these guys just have to do it? And I know you said, a lot of it's on you. At what point once they've gone through it a couple of times and you've had different guys going through it, does it sort of fall on them?
Well, learning how to win is the hardest process going, as we talk about, and what winning football looks like. And again, all it takes is a breakthrough moment. And then when you have a breakthrough moment where you win a game like that, then the confidence starts to grow and grow and grow. And everything is about in practice, being able to make practice more challenging than the games. What's your intent? What's your intent when you approach practice? Are you intentional? So again, it's trying to simulate game speed repetitions in practice. It's trying to make practice harder than the games. And then, it takes one or two individuals to step up and make a play. And when you make a play, everybody starts to believe. You see growth that maybe a lot of people don't see. Prior to that penalty on 4th and 2, we called a timeout, and our entire football team was on the field encouraging, and there was nobody on the bench. And to me, those are the little things. Again, you're judged on wins and losses. I get that, but that would have never occurred in this program a year ago. And to me, that's progress and moving forward. Now we got to find a way to make that play. We need to find a way to hold a fourth quarter lead. I think that's the other thing when you look at it, is in both games we've had fourth quarter leads and we've not been able to maintain them. And so much of it is momentum when you go on the road and limiting explosive plays. And again, they did a great job with those explosive plays, and we got to be able to answer that and play the ball better in the air. But I think the other thing is we weren't able to really generate an effective pass rush from a consistency standpoint throughout the course of the game.
Terry mentioned earlier something about, knowing that you're going to be in close games, for his team, that they practice a lot of, 2-minute offense, 2-minute defense, 4-minute offense and defense. Is that something that you guys, maybe can do more of? Does that make the difference, in just understanding how to handle those situations?
Well, we do that all the time. And the games really haven't come down to a 2-minute drive yet. We practice that every day. Or a 4-minute drive. It's been with 6 minutes, 5 minutes. I believe, it was a 4th and 6 all or nothing play at Memphis. There's still about 7 minutes to go in the game at ODU on the 4th down and 2. So I think it's just manufacturing critical situations throughout practice, kind of practicing sudden change, and then just keeping their mind going. And then again, at the end of the day, it's gonna happen when we step up and we make a play. And then you're going to see a monumental shift in terms of the confidence. The great thing is our players believe they're going to win the game. And again, unfortunately, you can play all these plays. A game can come down to 3 to 5 plays that make a difference. And really, an entire season can come down to 5 to 6 plays. And what's happening now is we're competitive in all these games. So we're playing games into the fourth quarter where in the past, these individuals have not really been involved in those games. So it's the expectation that every play can be the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah. It was a really tough game, tough battle. Obviously had to did not play our best football in the first half, particularly on offense, but came back and we're able to have a good third quarter and end up pulling the game out there in the end. So excited about, going 1-0, especially in the conference, and look forward to a good game this week.
Appreciate that, Coach. Our first questions come from Alvaro Torres with Inzoners. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Rahne. Thank you for your time. Well, your defense in front seven has been playing really well and has managed to apply pressure on opposing quarterbacks. What would you say has been the key to their success so far?
Yeah, I think that Coach Vic, our defensive line coach, has done a great job and really coached the guys up. We've got some young talent there, and those guys have been playing well. I thought we pushed the pocket well in the last game. They created some pressure, and then the other thing I thought that happened is Coach Seiler dialed up some pressure at key times, and we were able to get home. So, obviously getting 7 sacks, I knew the sack margin would be a big, factor in the game, and to win that 7-2 is obviously a big factor.
Thank you, Coach.
We'll go over to Shane. Shane, please go ahead.
Yeah, coach. Somebody who's taken a few snaps in his day. When you look around the league at all the quarterbacks, several putting up like highly ranked statistically and nationally. When you just look at the quality of the quarterbacks across the league, what's your overall impression of just the quality of this league compared to maybe everybody else in the country?
Well, I mean, we've got a great league, and in order to have a great league, you're going to have great quarterback play. I really think that as I look at it, it's a product of terrific coaches, but it's also a product of the rest of the guys that they're throwing to and that they're being protected by or whatever are terrific as well. I mean, this is a deep league. Obviously, the quarterbacks are going to always get the publicity, and as a quarterback, you kind of know that. But I think that it's just a reflection of the overall talent of the league.
Yeah, a lot of them have significant experience, and including guys you've got. How tough is it in a conference like the Sun Belt to kind of have that across the board, where for the most part teams aren't breaking in new guys?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be tougher and tougher as it continues to go. But I mean, let's be honest, the transfer portal works both ways, right? And so you get some, you lose some, and I think that this conference is a great example of that. I mean, but you're going to have to, no matter what happens when you get them or how long you have them, you're going to have to develop them. And I think that the coaching staffs in this league have done a terrific job of maximizing the talents of the guys that they have. And hey, these quarterbacks aren't all the same guy, right? They're a bunch of different guys, and so I think that the schemes have really accentuated who these guys are and what they do best.
All right, thank you.
Shane, we'll head over to Damian. Damian, please go ahead.
Hey, Ricky. Hugh Freeze said this morning that he views your defensive front similar to what his brings in terms of tenacity to get after the quarterback, ability to slow down the run. Conversely, what have you seen on film of Liberty's front that you need to prepare for Saturday?
Their front seven is physical and violent. I mean, they play with great tenacity. I think their coaching staff does a great job of putting them in a good position in order to a variety of fronts and those sort of things. They blitz a lot, but they come downhill and they play physical and they play hard. And so it's going to be a good battle. Right there. I think both teams have big offensive lines as well. Probably that there's probably gonna be a challenge for both of them. Especially after this past week. So I think that it's going to be one of those things that the defensive lines are going to be a critical part of this game.
All right, thank you. We'll head over to David Teal.
Ricky, Ali was so productive in the second half of last season, and now he's sitting there ranked second in the country in receiving yards per game. What has he done these first 4 weeks better than he did a year ago?
I think he's practiced better. I think that's one thing. I think he practiced all through camp really, really well, and he's practiced better throughout the week. And I just think he knows the scheme better. So we're able to, maybe dial up some plays that are good against these looks that maybe we didn't have time to practice all the time, or maybe only got one rep at. So I think that he's done a nice job of being able to understand the scheme, know what we're looking at, know what he's looking at. He's got a very, very high football IQ, and that's helped him get open.
How big a play was the pick six Saturday there in the third quarter to kind of gin up the momentum a little bit for your squad?
Well, I think we were playing well on offense at that time. And so, we were really playing well on defense. And, if we would have forced a punt there, I think we would have had the ball, inside the 50 and what we were doing on offense at the time, I would have liked it. But anytime you can eliminate those offensive plays and score right away, it's a good thing, right? So as an offensive play caller, you always want to call fewer plays to score touchdowns. That's the best thing to do. So I was obviously really happy about that. Got in the end zone, and that was a huge play in the game. Gave us our first lead, so that was big time.
Got time for one more. We'll go to Nick Pierce. Nick, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you made the change with your offensive coordinator, pretty deep into fall camp. How have you seen your offense improve from week one to now, and what are some things you're still working on?
Well, I think we still got a ways to go. We've got to be more consistent, and we've got to be more We just got to execute better and play more physical across the board. But, I've seen major improvement. Coach Rahne, every time he gets a call play, it's a new situation for him. And so he's done a fantastic job of adjusting. And I think that's why you've seen, some of the second half and late game adjustments he's made that been able to, lead to touchdown drives and get us late wins. So been very, very excited about the development he's had. And our team has got to continue to play, more consistent at every position. But I think, you can see that in our practices.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back home in Huntington this week against a really good opponent, Gardner-Webb, coming in after 3 weeks on the road. To be back at home in front of our fans here in the Zone will be exciting.
Thank you. Our first questions come from Alvaro Torres with Inzoners. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Huff. Thank you for your time. Well, how has the win against Notre Dame affected your team? And would you say that there is some sort of hangover after such an historic win?
No, I don't think it's affected our team. I think there were some things that we were able to mask early in the season due to, one, not having a lot of film out there, and two, due to the opponents early in the year that have become issues that have shown up a little bit in different situations. I think there's some things that we didn't do in the first two games as far as turning the ball over, penalties, sacks, things that expose some of those issues more. That have happened in the last couple games. We deal with 18 to 22-year-olds, man. I mean, whatever's on TikTok now is interesting. Whatever's not, it's not. So for adults and fans, and yeah, it's easy to point to that, but trust me, our guys, that's the last thing that I would be concerned about being the hangover. Now, what they did last night or, what they talked about over the weekend, yeah. But I just think it's some things that have shown up that we've gotten exposed on that in the first couple of weeks we were able to kind of mask or hide. And then as you get more film out there, as teams start to game plan, as we make some mistakes that we didn't make in the first couple games, some of those things have shown up. And we're playing really good teams. Last couple teams we played have been really good opponents. So as all those things kind of build up, those are the things that you got to continue each week to kind of fix and continue each week to adjust into moving forward.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Our next questions come from Luke Creasy. Luke, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. How are you this morning?
Good.
Two parts, really. You talked about ending a 3-game road trip, finally get to play back in Huntington for the first time in almost a month. And how good is that going to be to kind of play in front of a home crowd and maybe brings a little more energy, from the stands for the team?
Well, I think it's always good when you can play at home, just because there's a lot of fans in this community that support us that just financially or logistically can't go on every road trip. So I like playing in front of the fans here. I think we have a really good home environment. I think our players enjoy it. There's little kids that want to see the Herd play and they can't go to Troy or to Bowling Green for whatever reason that is. So from an energy standpoint, I think our energy's been good. I think our energy is good wherever we go. But I do think the fans, as close as they are to this team, as close as this team is to our community, to play in front of those guys, to get hugs in the parking lot, for everybody to be out there at the Thunder Walk, to me, that's something special.
On Saturday after the loss, we talked about how kind of a similar start to this year as it was last year. Start 2-0, drop 2 games. How important is this next game to maybe get your bearings back and do things that you can do well?
Well, yeah, I think, like you said, I mean, we're not in uncharted waters at all. I know perception or excitement and reality may, you beat Notre Dame, so you're supposed to win every game from now until the end of time. Not true. The reality is we were in a very similar situation last year where, we started out 2-0, like you said, we dropped 2, ended up being in the dogfight in game 4 or 5 or whatever it was, and it spun us into a few big wins. So again, it's not uncharted waters. I think what we got to focus on is not necessarily the opponent or how big the game is or where the game is. We got to focus on the things that we can control that lead to winning football. We got to focus on taking care of the ball. We got to focus on managing first and second down so you're not in 3rd and 10. We got to focus on protection. Defense played really well Saturday, but we gave up 320 some odd yards of passing. So it kind of gets mirrored in there, all the things that, are necessarily we need to clean up. That's what we need to focus on this week.
Yeah, this was really a massive week for our football team. You talk about going on the road, 2 road games, and coming up with a really tough loss against UCLA in a close game. Oftentimes teams feel the effects of those road games and a tough loss like that the week later. You look at our program a year ago, we played Louisiana, had a tough loss, and we really felt like we let that carry into another loss against Texas State in 4 overtimes. A completely different response from our football team this week. And so, we knew it as coaches, we knew it as players that we had to show up and respond. We had a phenomenal week of practice. The urgency of our players to get ourselves better from that week 3 loss against UCLA to week 4 against La Tech. And then certainly what we were able to accomplish on game day. And Louisiana Tech was a very athletic opponent there, played very hard. It was great to come out and respond early and jump out to a lead. And then they answered back and we had to respond again. So very excited about the trajectory of our football team and very excited to get into conference play, particularly against the standard bearer in our league for the last 4 years in Louisiana.
Hey, Coach, we'll start with Alvaro Torres with End Zoners. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach Wommack. Thank you for your time. Well, with the passing of each game, your offense is growing more and more effective on 3rd downs. Is this due to a change in schemes or the various circumstances of each game?
Well, I think we're getting more and more comfortable. We got a lot of new faces on our offensive, depth chart. You look at particularly Carter Bradley, our quarterback, who has played phenomenal in our first few games here, but he gets better and better at those situational downs. Situational football is all about execution. It's about understanding what you're going to get from your opponent and knowing the fine details of what you're trying to do schematically so that you can execute at a high level. And our players are getting better and better at that. Our offensive line is starting to gel and pick up protections. Our running backs are doing a great job, both out of the backfield and in protection. And our receivers are getting crisper and crisper in some of the things that we're trying to accomplish on 3rd down. So, red zone, 3rd down, those things are going to continue to improve as they should in great teams. Great teams get better as the season goes on. That's the only way that you stay a great team from week 1 to week 4, 12 or whatever it may be. And so I think that we're taking steps in the right direction there.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. We'll go over to Dan McDonald. Dan?
Morning, or I guess afternoon now, Coach. Along with making most of the rest of the Sun Belt happy last week, what did you really do that was the biggest key on Saturday?
Well, we responded first and foremost after a loss, and that's why it was such a massive week, regardless of the logos that we were playing on the other side of the stadium. It was our ability to respond and the things that we needed to get corrected. You look back at that UCLA game, and certainly it was an opportunity that we dropped as a football team. We made too many mistakes, myself as the head coach, all the way down to our players, assistant coaches, and so on and so forth. And so we really stated our process. I thought, we don't have a one team goal up on our board in our room. We don't talk about bowl games. We don't talk about Sun Belt championships. We don't talk about any of those things. We talk about becoming so elite in our process that the outcomes will be reflective of the way that we do things week in and week out.
Might have lost Coach there. Are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
You got me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah, got you, Coach. Your guys have forced about, I think, 10 turnovers so far this year. Is this a process, the new defense last year? Is this sort of you're getting rewarded for the fruits of your labors after last year and putting in a different defensive style?
Well, for us, we call them takeaways on defense. So turnover implies that they gave us the ball. Takeaway implies that we went and got that thing from them. So as a defensive coach, we want to create takeaways. We want to be intentional about that. Sometimes they do come in bunches, and we've had years like that where we'll go a couple of games where, maybe we're not getting quite as many. I think we get, 1 or 2 in the first 3 games there. And then all of a sudden we got 5, this past week. But that's what this defense has always done. We've been a defense that produces in what we call game changers. So, a game changer can be a takeaway, it can be a sack, it can be a 3 and out, it can be a 4th down stop. We wanted to get 10 plus game changers against Louisiana Tech this past week. We got 14, which is pretty phenomenal. You do that week in and week out, and you're going to win a lot of football games.
Coach Desormeaux said that your guys last year, it was almost like you needed to learn how to win. Have your guys sort of taken that and amplified it this year?
Well, we've certainly taken huge steps forward. We've gone 2 times on the road already this season. Obviously had a tremendous win against Central Michigan and a very good football team. Played really good football in a lot of scenarios against UCLA on the road as well. That was something we did not do well enough last year and execute on the road. And then I think, there's been some moments you can point to UCLA, you can point to what Louisiana Tech did in the second quarter of kind of answering back against us. And our team really knows how to respond. And if this team can build consistency in the way that we respond to adversity, we will be a very difficult team to beat week in and week out.
One more quick one, if I could. How much of that responding results in the turnaround plays that you had? You had the punt return touchdown, you had a pick 6, you had another big fumble recovery.
Well, I think, that also, I'll tell you this, you look back to last year and some of the issues that we had in tight games, and the lack of execution on special teams certainly hurt us often in big games. And, Jamal Lett, our special teams coordinator, has done a tremendous job. You see the value and benefit of the players that we've acquired in recruiting, and particularly the transfer portal. Instead of having a number of freshmen that we do actually have that are doing some good things, but we've also got guys that are a little bit more experienced, and so they're able to come in year 1 and not only contribute offensively and defensively, but on special teams. So I think we're taking steps in the right direction. And what's awesome is our players are now starting to gain confidence in one another. Braylon McReynolds is our kickoff returner. We opened the game up with a kickoff that was returned for a touchdown. It was called back on one holding call that really didn't have an effect on the play. And then obviously we were able to return a punt for a touchdown immediately after. And so, when you look at those things, Colin Lacey, Braylon McReynolds, our players are gaining confidence that if I can hold a block for just half a count more, it's going to be the difference in creating a game-changing momentum play.